Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my videos. My name's Myra. If you're new, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be notified every single time that I upload a video. And today we're going to be doing something that I have been trying to do for a while and I finally got to it. These are spicy gummy Cakesicles and they're really easy to make, so let's go ahead and get started. These are a few of the things that you're going to need to make these, and the first thing that we're going to be using is going to be corn syrup, and this one is by the brand Caro. You can use any brand that you have on hand. We're also going to be using some Gummy Bears. I decided to use this brand because it is really inexpensive. You could get these at the Dollar Tree for $1. And I'm going to be using 2 bags. And we're also going to be doing some Jello. I decided to go for strawberry. And this is the brand that I'm going to be using. You can use any brand, like I said earlier. It doesn't really matter as long as you get the flavors in there. That's what's important. And in case you guys are interested, this is about I want to say like a medium box of Jello. I'll let you guys see the measurements just in case you want to be super exact, but we're just pretty much going to use this bag. I'm only going to be using one. And then the last ingredient is going to be our water. And now that all of our ingredients are together, let's go ahead and take you guys over to my stove. The first ingredient I'm going to be putting on here is going to be our corn syrup. It's always the one I like to start off with, and it's 1 tablespoon. Next, I'm going to be putting in our 2 bags of Gummy Bears. This is the measurement in case you guys are wondering. I see in bigger bags, so in case you guys can't find them at the dollar store or don't have one near you, that's how much you can add. And then I'm just going to start by stirring and making sure all of our Gummy Bears are covered in the corn syrup. And make sure that you have your stove on low heat for this entire process. The last ingredient we're going to be adding is water, and I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon. And make sure you keep stirring so this doesn't burn. And once that last gummy bear has melted, it's time to take it off the stove. I went ahead and placed this in a glass bowl because it will harden. That is completely normal. And now I'm going to heat up some water. And as you can tell, I did make these a few times. For the second one, I used the brand Jello. I kept the same flavor, and this is the box that I used. The secret to this is not really in the brand that you use, but the instructions. So this one calls for 2 cups of boiling water and 2 cups of cold water. I actually used 1 cup of boiling water and 1 cup of cold water. So divide it in half so your gelatin is a little bit more thicker and sturdier than it would be with regular gelatin instructions. And like I mentioned earlier, I did 1 cup of boiling water. I actually placed the water directly on here before pouring in the Jello. You could do it otherwise if you like. It's up to personal preference, but this is thick and that's why I wanted to just pour it directly on here before any of this cooled off. And I'm going to just pour it right in. And to help us with that gummy bear mixture that we just made, I'm going to be using a whisk and just making sure everything is dissolved and liquid one more time. And now I'm just going in with our gelatin, and I'm going to be pouring it in slowly so it's easier for me to make sure everything is nicely dissolved. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of cold water. So now that this has cooled off, I'm ready to pour it into our mold. For that, I'm going to be using a beaker. I find it easier and mess-free. I'm going to be using these Cakesicle molds. I will be linking them down for you. The ones that I purchased actually had the popsicle sticks included, so it's a double bonus. You don't have to shop for those separately. So everything will be down in my description box, and make sure you have those ready as well. And for this to come out, you do have to use some type of like spray or vegetable oil. For this second batch, I did vegetable oil. I found them easier, and you just want to make sure they're all covered but not super greasy. I'm just taking a napkin to do all of that, and if you notice on here, it did stain mine, so if you are worried about it, you can just go ahead and get those pink colored molds. I don't actually mind, so it's not a problem for me. And now I'm just going to be putting in our popsicle sticks before we begin to pour. And another useful tip that I want to share with you guys is to use a cutting board or like a plate, something solid, so you can move these to the fridge. These are silicone, and if you ever worked with silicone molds, you know that these are flimsy. So when I lifted this up, everything moves around. We're dealing with liquid, so you want to avoid some of those spills, and this is just a really easy way to do that. And make sure you fix those popsicle sticks. Make sure they are nice and straight and don't come out towards the front. And for the rest of my mixture, I'm going to be using this breakable hard mold. I will also link that one for you guys. I already did one of these, as you can tell by that huge pink stain on here. Now I'm going to start with the same process I did for the Cakesicles. So taking a napkin and some oil and just covering everything up. Now I'm just going to take everything and put it in the fridge, leave it in there for about 4 to 5 hours, or you can leave them in overnight. So it's the next day, and this is how my popsicles are looking. There is a little bit of that liquid that comes out, but that is perfectly fine. It doesn't affect our popsicles at all. And I also poured the rest in the heart. If you remember, I didn't do it all the way because I did use the rest of the liquid for these popsicles. And before I show you how I remove these from the molds, I'm going to prepare our mixture that we will be covering these with. For that, I'm going to be using Tajin. I don't have exact measurements, but I'm just pretty much eyeballing it, making sure I have equal of amounts. I'm also going to be going in with some Miguelito. And Miguelito is more on the sweet side. Tajin is more on the spicy side, so you get a little bit of both by mixing these together. Going to take these out of the mold. So like all of the molds that I've shown you, I've always start from all of the edges, and you want to be really careful. Just remember you're working with Jello, so Jello is pretty fragile when it comes to doing all of these. So I'm just going to carefully kind of peel, and I want to show you a close-up. I usually get a lot of questions on removing it from the mold, so I'm going to just carefully kind of pull it back and then lifting all of the corners. Okay, and then I'm going to do that to each one of these. And I'm doing it to all of these before I take them out, because if these do get folded, it won't rip your Jello. You will just kind of have them out of the mold, so it doesn't affect any of the movement that you make, if that makes any sense. So just finishing up removing them and kind of going over them one more time. So now that all of these are removed, I'm going to start placing them here on my parchment paper. So I'm going to start, and I kind of want to show you how I take it out. This is silicone, so remember, I'm going to push it down. I'm going to push it out a little bit, really carefully. Just trying to take my time. And then I'm going to take it from the popsicle stick and then just kind of slide that over and hold, and this is how it looks. So they do hold up on their own. And then this is Jello, so the really nice thing about it is that if you do get any on your stick, you can just peel it off. So it's never an issue. I'm going to do the same step, and I'll show you here just so you can kind of see it. So I'm going to show you from here. So I'm pushing this a little bit in like that, and I'm going to keep pushing. And then when I get to this part here, I kind of push the popsicle stick out, hold it from here, and remove. Now I'm just going to cover them in that Tajin and Miguelito and making sure I get all of the sides. And there you have our first gummy enchilada, which is so delicious. My mouth is literally watering. And while I finish these off camera, I'm going to show you how I actually decorate my box. For this one, I decided to use some purple Easter grass. Now, if I use purple Easter grass, I do try to make sure that my cupcake liners are also purple, so they just go together a little bit better. And then I'm just going to unfold these, make them into little circles, and place them down. And if you noticed, our Cakesicle sticks are actually a little bit stained because of that Jello. If this bothers you, or you want this for your small business and you want this to look a little bit nicer, you can go in with some ribbon. I decided to use this like silver ribbon. You can use the color you use for your grass too, to just make everything look like they match a little bit better and you actually put an effort into it. And I'm just going to be using some tape and scissors for this. And for this one, I decided to go all the way just to show you how this would look. You can also place these in popsicle bags. I really like these ones. I've ordered them several times and I like that they have a seal at the bottom. I've done different popsicles, different like sizes, and I've never had an issue with them or their quality. Now for the second one, I am going to be using the same ribbon, but I'm going to go halfway and I'm going to make a little bow so you can kind of see how that looks like, just give you guys different ideas. If I'm going to be gifting these or taking them anywhere for like my small business, I actually like to keep this in the fridge, so the popsicle bags really do help out for that. For these ones, I'm just going to be making them for our house, so I did take them out just to show you how they look and give you guys a close-up. And I always get requests to show how things look like once they are bitten into, so I went ahead and bit this one just to show you. Now I'm going to finish up my heart. This is pretty much the same process as the one we did with the Cakesicles. So I'm going in and just trying to take off all of the sides, making sure that everything is completely off so nothing gets left over and then starts ripping your heart. And I'm going to show you how I remove this because this is a little bit trickier than when you do chocolate ones. You just have to be a little bit more careful with them. So I'm going to begin by peeling off the top part, which I believe is usually the most fragile one after making these in whatever, like chocolate, Jello, anything you use. And then once I can feel like that's starting to fold, I hold it down with my hand and remove the rest of the mold. Now, if I want to put this in our box, you kind of have to just meet your box and your mold halfway and then just let it drop. And I put my Tajin and Miguelito at the end. You can do it before. I just decided to do it this way because I found it easier. And there you have our gummy bear heart.